Good afternoon and welcome to the first subject-specific Technology Triumphs Open Day with me, Pip, and Joe.
Hello.
Hello. So, if you're joining us live, or even if you're watching this on replay, this is just to summarise. This is just an event that we're hosting to give you a bit more insight and information as to who we are, what we do, but more specifically in this live, all about our photography course, which we are very excited to launch. So we're going to show you a little bit of a presentation, which acts more as a prompt for us than anything else, and give you the opportunity to ask us questions about the qualification, any of the provisions, how it all works and how it might work for your learner. No question's a silly question. If whilst we are chatting along, you think of something and you need to get it down, if you're anything like me, you need to get it down before it disappears out your brain again, then just pop it in the dialogue box as we're chatting. We will come back and check that periodically, and there'll be time at the end to answer questions as well. So I'm just going to add in our little presentation. Hi, Jill. I'm assuming that's Emily and Freya watching as well. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, guys.
So hopefully you can see a nice, big, bright, colourful screen that says, welcome to the photography course. So you know this is what we're talking about specifically today is our brand new provision for 2023 September, is our photography course. If you're not familiar with us and what we do and how we do it, hi, welcome. So we are Technology Triumphs, and effectively we're kind of like a hybrid between an exam centre, an online exam centre, and a tuition service. We're not quite one or the other. We're like the best bits of both of them, but also designed in a way that makes it much more affordable for home educated learners. So the idea is that we're trying to provide online, affordable, and most importantly, flexible learning towards creative qualifications as GCSE alternatives. So who are we? I'm Pip, as I mentioned. This is Joe. So I head the company. I'm a home ed myself, and I am a qualified teacher. So I used to teach DT and art in schools previously. I've come out of mainstream education, and this is what I do now. So I established Technology Triumphs in 2019. I actually started doing private tuition just before that, but established Technology Triumphs with the mindset that I wanted to help home editors specifically and really help them get formal qualifications back in 2019. And that's when we became registered under the awarding body NCFE as well back then, which is pretty awesome because this is what allows us not only to teach content and to help learners learn the subject, but actually get the formal qualification at the end of it all in-house. So really we're the first of our kind delivering creative qualifications in this way. And the benefit of that, what that means is that obviously we've had a few years of learners gaining their qualifications and then going on to their next steps. So it's tried and tested method. We're able to report back that learners are able to use these qualifications in place of GCSEs, and it's helping them get into college and even work placements as well now. So we're a very small but very passionate team made up of a mixture of home editors, teachers and industry specialists. We've even got one person who was a home editor herself and is now working self-employed in the industry, in the film industry. So there's 8 of us in total, but at the forefront is myself and Joe. So Joe is very much the personality behind our social media. If you're ever messaging or DMing on the social media pages, you're more than likely going to be speaking to Joe. And Pip, myself, it handles, a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff in the background. If you're ever emailing direct to us, it'll be me that you'll be speaking to there as well. Something that we like to really focus on is the fact that we are community focused, mostly because we are a part of the community. So Joe also home eds. We understand what home editing is all about. We understand that it's different for everybody, and we believe in it as a system, as a valid educational choice. So we also recognise that obviously we know firsthand that home editing can be expensive, especially if you're trying to get qualifications for your learners, and especially if you've got more than one learner. So this is one reason why we have made in the last academic year over 100 hours of free content that we just make freely available for all home editors. You don't have to be one of our paid for courses to access that. So if you're interested in that, then just check out our website, and there's access, or there's information on there about all of our free courses. And then we worked out, I sat down and worked it out a couple of weeks ago, didn't even realise, but apparently we've invested over 50% of our profits back into the home ed community this year alone, just through things like funding free courses, giving away prizes, running national competitions in collaboration with people like Twinkle, and this is what feels good to us. So yeah, that's who we are. That's our background. That's the boring stuff. But obviously, we want to hear a little bit more about our provisions and how they work for you. So we have a number of courses as DT and art alternatives. So we've got cookery, cake decorating, textiles, and mixed media. And now new to September is photography as well. Now, the courses have been designed to be as accessible as possible. And we've done this in a number of ways. But the biggest way was actually putting the courses online. So obviously I started off face-to-face tuition, but that limited demographically how many people I could actually help and where they lived. So our courses are completely online, and you do not need to attend face-to-face at any point to achieve a qualification with us. It's all designed to be completed remotely from your home or anywhere in the world. We've even got learners traveling around the world as they study with us. So the idea is that you log on to our learning portal where you have full access to your course, and you can just work through it in your own pace, using our really exciting, engaging, fillable workbooks and submitting your evidence as you go along. I think that was everything I needed to say about that. Did I miss anything there, Jo?
I don't think so. Obviously, there is the fact that you work in your own time, so you don't have to be online and present for classes and things like that. You're not obligated to do it at a certain time of day. And accounting for time zones all over the world as well. We've got learners from, I think it's 14 different countries. So imagine trying to find a time that works for everybody. Absolutely impossible. So if your learner works best in the morning, you can do it in the morning. In the evening, it's that flexibility to fit it into how it works for your learner.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a home ed myself, so my son and we tend to work best by just focusing purely on one of his courses for a week and just knocking out loads of the work in one go, in one sitting, rather than a regular time each week. That's just how we work. So the idea is that the courses are written in full when you at the point that you actually start them. So you've got access to the whole thing, and you can just dip in and out of it in whatever way suits you best. So you don't have to log on at a certain day of the week, certain time of the day. It's entirely designed to fit in and around your schedule, because I know from first hand, and Jo does as well, that actually trying to fit in all these things again with multiple learners can be really tricky to do. So the idea is that this can slot in around your timetable in a way that works best for you and your family. So the ways that we support you, there's a few different ways that we can support you, that we do support you. All of our tutorials, and again, this fits in with the theme of flexibility, are pre-filmed. So that's why you don't need to log on and attend a live lesson. Everything's already created for you to be able to access at a point or a time that suits you best. And they're all available on our YouTube channel. So, and if you wanted to just have a look at the style of the way that we deliver those, or you're just interested to see the content on the different courses, just have a look on YouTube, look up Technology Triumphs. You'll find our whole channel. All of our tutorials are freely available, one, so that you can just see if it will work for your learner, but also if you can't afford necessarily, or it's not a priority for you to get the qualification, you can still make use of those tutorials, again, completely free of charge. For the home ed community to use in whatever way works for you. So YouTube channel is a way that we support you. We have assigned assessors for each learner. So when your learner starts on our course, they would have a designated assessor. That's someone who knows the course specification, has been trained on how to assess your learner's work in a very positive, engaging, motivating way. So every time your learner submits a workbook, so a completed workbook, the assigned assessor gets a notification there's some work for them to mark. They give them written and personalised feedback, but I think most importantly, in a way that's really going to help your learner to grow and progress. You've also got access.
Sorry, Kim. We also want to, you can take a drink now. We also just want to make a real point of saying that if your learner has a specific set of needs or responds to a certain form of feedback, you can definitely reach out to us and let us know, and we will be able to tailor our approach to your learner. So we're not going to say, we give individualized feedback, but it's only in a very narrow way of giving that feedback. So, for example, we do have a couple of learners who have PDA, and we've already had conversations with their parents who say, they need their feedback to be really bullet pointed, exactly what they need to do. They don't want positive praise for the sake of positive praise. They don't interpret it in the way that it might be intended and things like that. So if you've got a learner who needs their feedback really catered to them as individuals, reach out to us. That's exactly what your assessor is there for, and we will tailor our approach to what works for your learner.
Absolutely. That's a really good point, Jo. Thanks for adding that in. So on top of your assessor, you also got access to a qualified teacher. So for some people, that's a bonus. That's me. So like I say, I'm qualified DT and art teacher. I used to be the head of a DT department. It's been about 14, 15 years now, so a bit of previous experience. And you can contact me either through the email address. So it might just be that as a parent, you need to reach out for whatever reason. It might be a technical issue. It might be that you're asking for advice on next steps. I have some knowledge that I'm willing and happy to share freely, even if it's not completely linked to the course. If it can in any way help you and your learner, that's what I see my role as being a big part of my role. But also your learner has access to messaging me via the learning portal through a messaging service. So if they're stuck with a question on their course, they can just message me direct and I can give them some further support or tuition in effect via that messaging service to help them along. Obviously, you've met Jo. She is our social media support and she is very quick to jump on messages and to help in whatever way she can. She's lovely, lovely Jo. A few of you have already had interactions with her as well. Again, you will know that Jo is one of us. She's one of the community. She understands the plight. She understands our difficulties sometimes and, again, wants to do whatever she can to help as well. And then finally, if you haven't discovered them already, for each of our qualifications, there is a designated community group. So as the Home Ed community is such a wonderful, positive, uplifting community that I've experienced so far anyway, it makes sense to utilise that as well. So within the community group, it can be a place for us to share information with you. We have got a file section with each one, which will have information pack in there. It has some sample materials and other things that we think might be useful to you. It's actually a really nice network and a point for people to meet and to share and to engage and motivate each other's learners as well. So it might be that as if obviously your young person might not have a Facebook account, but as a parent, you can facilitate messages in there, i.e. sharing a piece of work and asking for some feedback from other families. If you're interested in booking into a course, but you're not quite sure yet, you can still request to join those groups and actually ask the parents and the other families on there what they are finding or think about the courses and get their feedback on that as well. Oh, I think that was everything. I'm just going to check any messages. I can see that Marina and Nathan are watching. Hello, thanks for joining us. Yes, so moving on to the next slide. This specific qualification is the NCFE Level 1 Award in Photography. So if you're familiar with our creative craft qualifications, this is slightly different. It doesn't sit under the creative craft. It's still in the arts and media section of NCFE qualifications, but it won't have creative craft written in the certificate. And this credit value of this is slightly different as well. And I'll explain briefly what that means if you're not familiar with that. So the Level 1 Award, when you compare it to other qualifications, is comparable to a grade 1 to 3 at GCSE. So it's that, in terms of complexity, that's the level it's set at. Now, the credit value refers to how big the qualification is. And so the credits equate to how many hours of content you're expected to be doing over the duration of the course. So the credit value for this course is 6. Now, our other level 1 qualifications are 9 credit value. So this qualification is slightly smaller, about 60 hours worth of content. But actually, for that reason, it might be suitable for some learners that you think, a level 1, not quite sure if they're ready for it yet, but they've kind of done with entry level. And as a prime example, my son, who's 10, has just finished his entry level, and he's going to be doing this level 1 photography course from September. He's going to be in our first cohort, as well as my niece as well, same age. So it's not quite as much in terms of the credit value, but it is still a level 1 qualification. So it's still working to that level. As with all of our qualifications, there are no age restrictions. So although I said my son's 10 and he's ready for it, there's no minimum age. So if you've got a slightly younger learner who you think might be ready for the course, then you are free to enrol them. As their adult and facilitator, you're the best person to determine whether or not you think your learner is ready for a qualification like this. And that's why we like to share sample materials and lots of information so you can read through it, engage, with this work for my young person. Now, if you're thinking, well, I'm not really interested in level 1, I want to do a level 2 qualification, do not fear. That is already in the planning stages and will launch for September 2024. So as with all our courses, we like to have our courses as written in full before we launch them. And that allows us to offer that flexibility of learners to then progress through the course at whatever pace suits them. So you can jump to a certain workbook, or you can just work through the workbooks at a much faster pace. So both the level 1 and the level 2 are available on fast track options. So what that means is if you want a level 2 qualification and you need it, for example, for college steps, it's entirely possible for you to qualify with the level 2 certificate for the summer of 2025. So, and just quickly on that, the credit value of the level 2 certificate is actually marginally higher than our creative crafts courses. So it is, by the fact that this one's worth 6, you'd think it was worth less. It's not, it's actually worth more. And again, if comparing that to a standard GCSE at a C pass, C and above pass, they are normally worth 12 to 14 credits. So 16 credits shows that it's a weighted qualification, which is one of the reasons that colleges will accept this in place of GCSEs on the most part. So how do we assess? We take assessment through different methods, and again we want to offer as much flexibility around this as well. So obviously you have the workbooks that you need to complete through the course and submit to your assessor, and then alongside that you're building a ongoing photo gallery, so a portfolio of all your photographic evidence and any other evidence that we need you to collate together. You submit it on the portal, and that's how obviously your assessor reviews your work and is able to feedback your written feedback. Now, these three points in bold are the most important things for me as somebody who is dyslexic and did not do well under pressure. No SPAG assessment, meaning spelling and grammar. There are no exams, and there are no deadlines. So because there's no end point to the qualification, and the qualification's written in full for people to work through their own pace, you can complete the course at whatever pace you want. You can take longer if needed. You can speed through it quicker if you want to. And like I say, no written exam where you just have to regurgitate memorized facts. We're not about that. That's not very creative. So we don't like that. So, and then also just to emphasize that the learners have a choice over the format and delivery of their final workbook. So Joe's going to talk about this a bit more as we go through. But again, just coming back to that theme of flexibility, if there is a better way for your learner to be able to access the course and complete the work, then we are all for supporting that as well. Just going to take a breath. If you've got any questions whilst I've been rambling, please feel free to pop them in and I'll double check these as we go along. So, is this me, Joe? Do I keep going?
Although you have pretty much covered it already with the PDF, fillable PDFs and the tutorials and how they're delivered, but this just gives you a little look at what they're going to look like, basically.
Yeah. So again, if you've already seen our creative craft courses, this is going to look quite familiar to you. The bright, colourful, engaging workbooks, not designed to be printed out because that would be evil on your printer, designed to be completed electronically. And the reason we've made them bright and colourful with lots of images is just to engage as well. I myself would struggle with just a black and white document with no images, and with something that's such a creative course and subject, you need references as well anyway. So they're designed to be completed electronically, and they can be filled in online. So you just click onto the boxes and type your responses in as you go. And wherever you see the little YouTube icon, you click on that and it takes you to the pre-filmed tutorials on our YouTube page. So the exact tutorial you need for that piece of work, and that will deliver most of the content you need to be able to complete the tasks and the work. So, course delivery.
Nice little overview of what they're going to look like. This is one of the earlier workbooks, so this does seem this covers slightly more technical aspects of photography, and then as they move forward, we progress into like the art of photography and the techniques and things like that. So the earlier workbooks seem a bit more technical minded, just to give all learners that blanket level of understanding no matter what device they're going to be using. So we cover these aspects really early on before we move into what I guess is kind of the fun stuff.
The fun bit, yeah. The bit that we're all here for, yeah, the creative fun stuff.
What you really know about.
Very much so. So did you want to go through the course overview, Jo? So I'm sure people want to know.
So Jill has posted her question, which times in so nicely with my slides, Jill. Thank you very much. To say, how many workbooks are there? There are 9. And I'm going to go through them with you now. Hopefully you guys will be able to read that on your screen. I do apologise. I am going to be referring to some notes just because I want to make sure that I cover them, because I think this is what you are all here to know about.
I'm going to make this, sorry, Jo, I'm going to make this bigger on the screen just so that people can potentially see what's on there, okay?
There we go. Lovely. Thank you very much for that. Right, so we're going to take a closer look at what's covered in the 9 workbooks for the course. So workbooks 1 and 2 are really, like I said, about kind of the more technical aspects. So we're going to be introducing the learner to camera controls, features and functions, basic elements of photography, and unfortunately the boring stuff of health and safety considerations, which is boring but is actually really, really important. And learners are also going to be taking a series of images for their photo gallery or portfolio, which are effectively their starting point in their journey. So the photo gallery, as we said earlier, is an ongoing document. So you don't complete an individual photo gallery that goes alongside each workbook. You're going to be producing one photo gallery, and you just add more and more to it and then submit that with each workbook. So these images in the first workbooks are almost like your first step on your journey. And it is really important to note here, I think, that in the workbooks we give tasks that the learners need to complete in order to demonstrate certain assessment objectives and to showcase their skills. But the really important thing is that we actively encourage learners to take photos throughout and beyond just the tasks as well. So it's an unwritten task that they need to be adding more photos as they go. So all of their practice, all of their experimentation, things like that. And then we move on to workbooks 3 and 4. And here it does start to get a bit more exciting because we go into more depth about composition techniques. So this is things like the rule of thirds and depth of field and tone and mood and all those kind of really cool aspects of capturing an image. So we go through how to achieve them, when to use them, the role of lighting. We'll be covering different lenses and their uses. And then we're also going to be looking at photographic styles as well. So things like street photography, sport photography, nature, what's often known as editorial as well, so those high fashion pictures. And we also undertake some, I guess you'd call them alternative kind of tasks. So beyond just taking photos, we're also going to be doing things like we're making our own light box. So if you've ever seen people doing product photography, we're going to be making our very own light box, and we're also going to be playing around with some tricks in photography that utilise household items for capturing really creative images. So I'm just going to, before I move on, just going to cut a couple of questions come in. Debbie has asked, what kind of camera do you need? And can you use a phone camera or must it be SLR? I'm going to talk more about this in more detail, Debbie, but this course has been designed to use a phone camera. So we think that's the most accessible device that people are going to have for capturing digital images. So it has been designed with that in mind specifically. You can use a DSLR, that's not a problem at all, but we've really designed it from that point. And then Freya has asked, can they take pictures of subjects they like, such as animals? Yes, we are. In some of the tasks, we will be dictating a subject or a type of subject, but the course is really built on allowing that flexibility for learners to explore the type of photography and the subjects that they like capturing. So next up, we're going for workbooks 5 to 6. Here we're going to be focusing on conditions and environments. So outdoor photography, things like that, how to select a subject, organising a photo shoot, and in more detail, the role of the photographer and the traits that we see in photographers. Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to organise my... Sorry, Jill, hopefully that's a little bit better and you don't have as much echo going on. Do let me know if I've improved it. I've just played around with my buttons a little bit. So 5 and 6, we're looking at environments, the traits of photographer, and considering this in many different ways, because it's not just the role of the photographer as in taking photos, it's how they can work with other people. So say if they've got a model that they're working with, how you can engage and within a studio and all those kind of aspects. And then we're also going to be really making a point of exploring photography within different contexts. So this is very different to how photography is covered in schools and school-like settings. So I think this is a really important aspect that we kind of really encourage learners to get out there and explore the different ways in which they can work and improve their photography skills. So Phil has said, yes, that's much better. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I do apologise, everybody, if you had some feedback going on with the echo.
I was just going to add in there, Joe, because obviously I've seen photography being taught in mainstream schools, and as the most...
And what we call the major shoot, which is in effect culmination of the skills and knowledge that they have learned in the workbooks up to this point. And it's also going to include a little bit of research and critiquing of the work of other photographers as well. Learners are taken through the whole design process, so how to create their own brief, and they'll decide on the style of photography that they want to explore and what type of shoot they want to undertake. So going back to what Freya has asked, if they are really into taking photographs of animals, nature photography and portrait photography, they can focus on that. We are not dictating that you have to do it within a very particular way. So this is really all about that flexibility for those learners. We do suggest some design briefs that learners can undertake. So we give an option of 5. There's 5 options that they can decide to take forward, but we also are really happy for any learners who want to suggest their own brief to their assessor. So if there's something they're really interested in, they can send that in to us. But also we've provided those options because some learners prefer to be given a direction and it helps them to channel what they're doing, or they might be anxious or nervous about thinking of their own. So it's really about that, because we know how difficult it can be when learners are really into a subject. And anybody who had a learner who has been in the school system, you've probably got experiences of where they had a subject or a topic that they were really, really into and really motivated to learn more about. And then suddenly it was end of the 6 weeks and now we're moving on to something else. So we've really tried to avoid that happening. If there's something they're really excited about and really want to explore, then they're given that flexibility to do that. So we're going to move on to the next slide, and I'm just going to take a little sip. So again, if you do have any questions, please do feel free to add them into the comments.
I was just going to say as well, Joe, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. I obviously I witnessed photography being taught in mainstream school settings, and the most exciting things I saw was in terms of what the kids thought was exciting is when they got a special lanyard that gave them permission to walk around the school sites taking photos of the school building, and that was basically as much freedom as the school was allowed to give. And I think one of the many reasons that home editing is just so incredible and can be so good for exploring the creatives is that you've got so much freedom. And I was talking to Michael, my son, about this, and we were talking about all the other hobbies he has. So, for example, he goes to karate, he goes to music lessons, and I was like, think of all those opportunities. You've got your phone on you anyway to be able to take photos. You can just whip it out and take snaps of, all the guitars hanging up on the wall. And he got so excited about it. So I actually think it's going to be a good course and qualification for engaging learners, but in a way that it doesn't even seem like a separate piece of work a lot of the time. It's just woven into the fabric of our home ed journey.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I'm just going to move on to workbook 7. So this is effectively undertaking that major shoot that we've been learning about and deciding on the design brief. So here they will actually be undertaking that. They'll be taking test shots, and then they're going to be evaluating them and then actioning their major shoot. And then the images that are produced are then reviewed by the learner themselves for self-evaluation. And we also encourage them to share the images for feedback from others alongside their design brief. So it helps those people who are viewing the image to make that, I guess, opinion as to whether the photo matches with the design brief, because you can take an absolutely amazing photo, but if it doesn't match with the design brief, then it's not a successful image in terms of the design brief. So that's covered for workbook 7. Workbook 8 then goes in a slightly different direction, because here we're going to be looking at and learning about the basic skills of image manipulation. Now, when we use the word manipulation, we don't just mean in a negative way and making images look like something that they really shouldn't. We're looking at how to manipulation in terms of changing an image. So this can be things like editing and filters and cropping and improving exposure and things like that. So we're going to be covering all of that. And one of the key points we wanted to make here is that we are going to be utilizing free, very low cost, or software that has free trial availability in order to perform the image manipulation and skills and techniques. So we're not dictating to learners that they have to use a very specific program that costs a certain amount of money and everybody has to have that one in order to complete the course. You might already have an application or some software on your computer that you can use, or you can try a few different ones and see which one your learner likes to use. And then also within workbook 8, there is some health and safety that comes back into it, but this is going to be in a slightly different context to workbook 1. Workbook 9 is then very, very different to if you've been on a creative craft course with us and the final project that you end up completing in those ones. This workbook 9 is done in a very different way. And there are a couple of reasons for this, which I will cover as well. But this is their very final project. So there's fewer workbooks for this course, but workbook 9 stays on kind of the topic of image manipulation, but we're covering the ethical and legal implications of it. So we kind of touch on the sociological and psychological impact, and we really think this allows us to have a photography course that's really wide in terms of the context in which we consider photography. So we're not solely focusing on the technical, we're not solely focusing on the art, we're really making this a much broader photography qualification by including this. And this workbook, as I say, takes place in kind of a number of options are available. So we give a number of topics. So we have you can choose from the topic of image manipulation, photography in context of health and wellness, and the role of photography in conservation. However, if your learner has a topic that they are really interested in and they would like to present their workbook 9 on a different topic, they can most definitely reach out to us with their own topic choice. So not only can they pick their own topic here, but they can also choose how they're going to present it. So the workbook is an essay type task is required, but how you present that essay is really flexible. So you can, by all means, write an essay. You can complete a slideshow presentation with a voiceover. You can complete a video presentation, or you can suggest a completely different way of presenting it. But it's basically it's a discussion task, and how you choose to present that is completely up to you. We'll also be covering within this essay skills in the broader context, so how to formulate your discussion and the types of things you want to consider in terms of how to introduce it, how to conclude it, how to include evidence. And we're also really encouraging learners to take photos themselves that help to support their discussion, as well as researching images from other photographers that they can use to support their discussion as well. Now, this might sound really scary to learners because we use the word essay and they might think, oh my God, I'm going to be, up into the small hours surrounded by textbooks and all that kind of thing. It's really not like that at all. So please don't panic because we've used the word essay. We've got a question pop up. Will you do level 2 photography in the future? Yes, Mary, level 2 photography is already in design and development and will be launching for September 2024. So moving on, we're moving on to the next slide, please. If anyone's got any questions about those workbooks, please do jump in and let me know. Another really valuable piece of information to share with you is about equipment, because you probably think this all sounds like your learner might be like, I really want to learn photography, this sounds amazing, and then you might find other qualifications, other courses, and then you read the equipment list, and on top of the price of the course or qualification, you've then got a massive list of equipment that you then also have to buy as well. And for a lot of people, we think this creates a real barrier to them being able to access or learn about photography, because it is an expensive hobby. It is an expensive pastime, but we don't really think it's fair for learners to be penalised effectively by not being able to access, these more expensive pieces of equipment. So accessibility and affordability were absolutely paramount, top consideration for developing their course. So this course, as I said previously, has been designed to be able to complete with a mobile phone camera, as it is the most accessible device available to young learners. You can, of course, use any digital camera that you have access to. And the knowledge of photography that we cover is transferable across devices. So no one is penalised for using a mobile phone camera. And by the same token, no one is penalised for using a digital device either. So if Pip could add me back into...
I suppose I can do that. Well, we're both there.
Demonstrations. So what you're going to need is access to a device where you can create your photo document. So laptop, tablet, PC. You are, of course, going to need a digital camera device. So a mobile phone. Mobile phone works just as well. You can use a point and shoot camera. You can use a DSLR camera if you have one. And then you're also going to want, if you lost my slide now, also that you get a tripod.
There you go.
So tripod here. So if you are completing with a mobile phone camera, I'm going to run through some costs, basically. So my tripod here cost me £12.99 from Amazon. And then you also may want a remote shutter for your device as well. So this is a Bluetooth remote shutter for a mobile phone. This was £5.99 for a pack of 2 of them, which is just as well because I've already lost one today. So £5.99 for a pack of those 2, and then you can also oh no, the other one you're going to need is a lamp or a torch or a ring light. So my ring light here, ring light, torch or lamp. My ring light costs £15.99, so obviously a torch is going to be a little bit cheaper. And then you can also, as optionals, dependent on the device that you're using, you can use lenses, variable lenses. This is for a DSLR camera. They are expensive. Or if you are using a mobile phone camera, there are clip-on lenses that you can get. And this is the most expensive thing I've purchased for this course. And this cost £29.96. And they just clip on over the top of your camera lens on your mobile phone. So that was the most expensive thing that I purchased at £29.96. So that is, and then we're also going to suggest that you will use some household items. So things like tin foil and a mirror. They're general household items, and that's for really exploring some of the techniques and the tricks that we'll be using as well. So that is, if we're on to the next slide, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go.
So here we go. So I'm going to hand back over to Pip for this bit. So again, if anybody's got any questions about the workbook content or the equipment, just drop them into the comments, and Pip is going to talk us through some other details.
Yeah. So as Joe was just talking about, and we've said it time and time again, accessibility, it's actually in our ethos. Accessibility and affordability are really, really important to us. And that's why we've specifically designed this course to be accessible with just the use of a mobile phone. Of course, if you've already got an SLR camera, you can equally do it, and there's not going to be any difference in the marks you're awarded or anything like that. We just wanted to make sure that it could be as inclusive as possible to keep costs down, and also because our young people can go through phases with things, and something they're interested in one year might not be there the next year. Sometimes I'm like with my kids, if it's 1 week to the next. So for certain, my son will be doing this just with his mobile phone camera. And what I'm actually going to use as a bit of a motivational tool is that if he completes the level 1, which he will, then I might consider buying him an SLR camera for a Christmas present, I think, maybe, because they're not cheap. And also with the by dictating the different programs that you might use or apps, one, again, you're making it inaccessible for certain learners or using certain devices. We're not about that, and teaching something like that, teaching a program even face to face, because I've done this, teaching a program face to face with a learner can be quite difficult. Someone presses the wrong button somewhere and you haven't seen them press that button. It can be really hard to figure out what's gone wrong. To do that remotely, I just don't feel it would be fair on our learners. I don't think it's going to help them to progress and to learn photography skills, which is why the focus on this course, because of the way it's designed and the way it's going to run, is very much about building a strong portfolio and helping a learner to develop their own sense of style, their own photography style. So hopefully that happens. We shall see. So it's all about the art of photography and improving the skills for the device that you are using. So it's personal to you. So you're being encouraged to work independently. You're being encouraged to read, instructions, all those things that actually are going to cross over and help with other subjects, qualifications, and general life skills anyway. So hopefully ticking lots of boxes as home editors. You're going to be developing your understanding of image capture, and most importantly, I think the freedom to express. explore, and integrate. You're not going to be restricted by this is the task, you must do it this way. We want you to go and take a picture of a building. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, here are some suggestions of tasks. And even within that, if you go, actually, can I adjust this? Because like Freya said, I've got farm school this week and I really want to integrate what I'm doing there into my photography. Absolutely go for it. Not only does it make your lives easier, your passion will be seen in your outcomes much more. So if you're encouraged to take photos and develop your skills in a way that's woven into your other hobbies, it's going to ensure that you get the best possible outcomes from your course. So yes. And if you're ever unsure about, well, could we do this? Could we do that? Just ask us, because generally, I don't think we've ever said no to anything, to be honest, because it just requires us to adjust our end. And we're happy to do that because there isn't enough of that in the world, quite simply. So it's designed to use free or low cost equipment and software. We are not dictating specific devices or programs, like I say, and we're not teaching narrow focus controls and methods. We want it to work for as many people, but also in a way that they end the course feeling just as passionately about the subject as when they started, if not more passionate about it as well. So I'm going to move on. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. Bear with me.
I'm just gonna chime in. Frey has said, it's a shame we can't start before September. Can we have another photography competition during the summer to practice, says Freya. And do you know what, Freya? If you are in the closed community group for photography, I've got things coming up for you. It was all waiting until our first open day, where we could talk about this talk about the course in more detail. But I have many things coming for you in order to keep you satisfied until September. So I promise I'm looking out for you. I've got things there. I am excited that you are so excited and want to get going already. So thank you very much. And I promise I'll take care of you through all the summer.
Jo, you're just the gift that keeps on giving. So, and then Mike was the same. He's chomping at the bit as well. So yeah, we'll be getting involved as well. So enrolment, if you're already familiar with the way we do things, you'll know that you can book now to secure your place on this September starters. Now, what is it? There's some important things to highlight in terms of the way this is running for the photography cohort for this year. Now, normally we open our enrolment 3 times a year, for a September start, a January start, and an April start. For our pilot scheme, that is the first group of people going through on the course, this year is only going to be open for September. And the reason for that is that we are going to be working with you as our pilot group to help us make improvements, to help us develop the course. Perhaps you're going to be contributing towards the course development by sharing some of your photos as exemplar work to help other learners. So we want to do a run through with a batch of learners before we open it up again for general booking. So if you are keen to do the level 1 photography and you're thinking, oh, I'll book for January, you won't be able to do that this year, unfortunately. So if you want to book it this year, it's for a September start. You don't have to start in September, just like with all of our other courses. You can just leave it sitting there until you're ready to actually engage with the work. So our booking is open at the moment. It's closing on the 31st of August, which again is slightly different to our other courses. So we're allowing the month of August for any other late bookings as well. So the first payment will come out on the 1st of September. So if you want to go ahead and book now, no money will be taken, I promise you. And what you'll get is an email notification telling you that your payment plan has been paused, because I do that manually. And then we unpause it in August, ready for your first payment to come out in September. You can pay it as a one-off payment, but we don't dictate that you need to do that. We're quite happy to take payment plans on a monthly basis. You don't pay any more for taking that option. Again, I've never really understood why people get a discount when they've got more money in the first place to be able to pay up front. That baffles me. So it's the same amount you pay, whether you pay one-off or you use the payment plan option. Yeah. And then, as always, a completely no quibble cancellation policy. So if you book now and then come close to the time you decide it's not for you, or your circumstances have changed, you need to cancel it, just send us this email, we'll cancel it, no payments will be taken. If at any point during the course your circumstances change or it's not for you, or just need a break from it for a little while, again, we can cancel within, as long as you give us 3 working days notice before the next payment has come out. And again, as with all our other courses, if you want to come back to the course, you pick up from where you left off, you don't pay anything extra. And you don't need to give any justification either. We get it. We understand that circumstances change and life can be tough and things can trip us up. So you don't need to come to me with a reason or a justification. If you want to cancel it, I'm happy to honour that. It's not a problem at all. So no obligation sign up. So hopefully it takes a bit of pressure off. You don't, when you're booking onto this course, you're not necessarily committing to the full amount. So if you try it and you decide it's not for you, you can cancel. Is it on the slideshow, Joe, about the discount? Oh yes, there it is. So I can see another question
already.
You're way ahead of me. I'm just seeing that there's a question here. So Marina's put, Nathan's really looking forward to starting. If he's taking pictures between now and the start of the course, can he still use them at a relevant time in the workbook?
In short, yes, providing they are demonstrating whatever that task is requiring of you. However, I would encourage learners to take their shots in real time throughout their course. So yes, if he's taken an image that really is really successful at capturing a certain aspect of photography, and the thing is with photography is that conditions are ever changing. So if you're at the workbook where it's talking about light and how we can use light in photography, and 6 weeks ago you took an amazing photo that captured, the light and the angles and the shadows and all that kind of thing. Yes, you can use that one in place of trying to then create an image when the conditions just aren't right. We're in cloudy days forever. So yes, in short, you can, but we would encourage as many real-time images be captured as possible. But again, we understand that's not always going to be possible. So this is, another example of the flexibility of what you can do. The only point I would say is that, yes, between now and the start of the course, but maybe don't, use images from a year ago.
Yeah. Because I think if for no other reason, your skills are going to have developed so much since then. So you're not going to be showcasing where you're at and how good your photography skills are now. So, but yeah, very good points. So I mentioned, obviously, this is the pilot scheme. So you're the first group going through. And like I say, my own son's going to be on it. I'm going to be there as an adult facilitator, like you guys are as well. So we're going on that journey together, which is quite exciting. But this pilot scheme does attract a massive 25% discount. So the usual total course price would be £480, just like all our other level 1 courses, but it's going to be reduced down to £360. So instead of £20 a month, it's only £15 a month. So all of that content, all of that feedback from an assessor, that support from a qualified teacher, and the bonus of an actual qualification at the end of it for just £15 a month. It's got their asterisks or £30 a month because, again, like our other courses, because the course will have already been written in full when you start it, you've got the option of fast tracking. And all that means is that you just double your payment plan amount. So you pay £30 a month and you complete in 12 months instead of 24 months. Again, you don't pay any more or less. It's the same fixed price. And it just means that if you are fast tracking to complete within 1 year, you haven't got an outstanding balance to pay at the end of it. In return, what we're asking from you guys in place of that 25% discount is your support, your feedback in terms of surveys. So periodically through the course, we'll just ask you for your honest opinion of how things are going, how things are working for you, what you think works well, what could be developed further. Because like everything else with Technology Triumphs, everything that we have developed and grown has come from parental and learner feedback and requests. And so we're not so naive or almost arrogant, really, to believe, oh, yes, we've done it now. This is the best it could possibly be. We want to make it as good as possible for as many people as possible. So we're asking for your help with that. And again, in return to you, you also get, which you don't necessarily get in any of the other courses, additional support sessions that Joe is going to be running via Zoom. You don't have to come to those. We'd recommend that you did. You don't have to be on camera. You don't have to be on mic. You don't have to participate. But it's going to be an opportunity for you to regularly touch base with Joe as the course developer, share work, share ideas, ask for additional support, and just come say hello. And I will be joining in with those with my son as a learner. So the other side of the fence for a change.
So we did have a question come in earlier. regarding the Zoom support session. So as Pippa said, there's going to be no obligation to attend them. We would love to have you join us, but there's no obligation. You don't need to be on camera. You don't need to be, have your mic switched on. But they are going to be made available at interval periods, and currently we are set up for hosting them every 6 weeks. What we are going to use these sessions for as well is identifying whether or not those sessions are something that will happen in the later enrolments. So in a way, we're almost using the Zoom sessions for feedback as to whether we continue the Zoom sessions if the course goes on further, if that makes sense. So if they are a valuable resource for learners that are on the pilot scheme enrolment, then we will of course put them into the subsequent enrolments. If you feedback to us that they weren't, you didn't really utilize them, or you don't think that they're necessarily needed for subsequent learners, then we will take that on board, and that's how we will grow and develop the course, because it is organic. So as Pip said, the feedback that you give to us helps us develop and move the course forward to being better. And we're really going to ask for your help in being able to do that, to help other people in the community who will take up the course at a later date.
Cool. So, course ethos. I think we've probably spoken a lot about this as we've gone along, but we're just to summarise that this is what we're about, and this has been at the core with the planning this course. We want it to be immersive. We want people to be able to integrate it into their home ed life and the way that they learn already. We want to offer complete flexibility. So if there's anything that we've spoken about that you think, well, I just don't think that particular format or that method is going to work for my learner, then reach out, and there's a 99.9% chance that we're going to be able to say, no, we can accommodate in a different way. So it's all about freedom, creative freedom, being as interactive and engaging as possible. We don't, although the course is run online, we don't necessarily want people sat behind a computer. We want you out and about, discovering and clicking, taking photos. So it's about freedom of expression, and as always with our courses, being as accessible as possible.
Exactly, yeah. And it was really important for us to, when we developed the course, to have the learners who are enrolled on it, whether they're pilot scheme or later enrolment learners, is that what they produce and the images that they capture and things like that are really about the individual learner. So we want you to feel like you're seen and you're heard as who you are as an individual, rather than us asking you to fit into a really narrow box of what we think you should be producing as a photographer. That's just not, it's not what creativity is about. That's not what photography is about. And it most definitely is not what Technology Triumphs is all about. So as Pip mentioned, we use the term immersive and integration and things like that, because this course doesn't need to be a separate thing to what goes on within the rest of your life. So you don't necessarily need to set aside a 2-hour block or window in your week to sit down and do your photography course. Yes, you will need to spend some time on the workbooks and some of the written answers and things like that. But, when you're going out to your groups, you can take photos. When you're going on your nature walks, take your photos. If you're out on a great day and the light's amazing and your brother or your sister looks really cool doing something, take that photo. It's really all about integrating it into your daily life. And honestly, those are some of the best images that you can capture, because the energy of them can be captured as well. There is one other thing that I do want to talk about, which did come in as a question as well, and that is video logs and submissions. So we didn't make a big deal of this in the workbooks, but in comparison to the other courses, yes, there are still video logs, but there are 2 required for photography. So this is less than in the creative craft courses, but those videos are really there for moderation purposes for NCFE. but we also understand that they're not something that everybody can choose. So it's a minimum of two, but you might choose to do a video presentation for that workbook 9 that we were talking about. So that's great, that's 3, but there is a minimum of 2, but we're going to increase the flexibility here because we are going to suggest a point at which the video log is done. But if there is a day where your learner is like, yes, today is the day that I'm going to do a video log, you can put it into a different task. So there's that flexibility to be able to go, today is a really good day. They're feeling really positive. They're feeling really confident. Let's do a video with it. And they can choose to do that as opposed to being like almost dreading getting to a certain workbook because that's where the video crops up. So we wanted to try and avoid that as much as possible. So again, another increase in the flexibility that is being put into this course.
Excellent. So in the comment that's come in from Jill, the enthusiasm you both have for the course is obvious. No, we're just really good actors. We're not fussed about creative subjects. Yeah, that could be that. But it's a good point, to be fair. And I've had a few people in recent months sort of approach us asking, "Oh, are you going to do functional skills again?" And if you were with us at the start of the journey, you know that we have dipped into other subjects and stuff. Actually, that doesn't that's not our vibe. So it doesn't get the best out of us. And to enable us to deliver high quality provisions, we focus on the ones that we're most passionate about and the ones that we're able to share our knowledge and enthusiasm, because it is contagious. It can be contagious. So even just talking to Joe, we bounce off of each other. So that's why we focus on the creatives. But thanks for pointing it out, Jill. Shall I go to the next slide?
Yes, next one, please.
So if you want more info, we've mentioned it a couple of times, we've got the closed community group. So if you look up Technology Triumph Level 1 Photography, if you're not in there already, ask to join. You don't have to have booked on to join that group. We'll let you in. We're nice like that. You don't have to show any ID or anything. And within that group, there's already some documents in there, but as Jo mentioned, she's got more coming. So there's going to be some sample sessions and some other things for you to try out and play around with. And it will just give you a real sense of what this course is going to look like and how it could work for your learner. So definitely join that group if you're on social media. Visit our website so you can see some basic information about how to book straight on our website. www.technologytriumphs.co.uk. So you can book. It takes you to our external booking site, which is Class for Kids. Sorry, there's a typo on there, Joe. I should have pointed that out. It's classforkids.com, I believe. It might be .co.uk. The link is actually already on the description of this video. And it will take you to all of the courses that we've got spaces for at the moment for September. If you book onto that, you're not obligating yourself to the course. So if you change your mind, then you're free to do that as well. And then just also to say, follow us on social media if you are, in fact, on social media. Our Facebook page, our main one. So we've got the closed groups, we've got the main Technology Triumphs page where we give details of more of these events and all our freebies that we give away, including our live draw along on a Monday. There's more content coming as well, more free content. So even if you're not ready for a paid for course, you can't afford it at the moment, or it's just not for you, feel free to join our community because we got loads of stuff for you. And also just let other people know. Again, it's not about, we're doing this, but it's only for our learners. It's for anyone that can make use of it. And then Instagram, we're on there as well. So we're starting to build a little bit more content up there. And that's really showing an insight as to how we do things with behind the scenes as well. I think that was everything.
I think that is everything. Let's refer quickly.
Just while Joe's having a look at the notes, if anyone's got any final questions or anything they just wanted to add, feel free to speak now.
We'll hang on a couple of minutes and see if you've got any questions. But you might watch this, you might be watching this retrospectively, and a question will pop into your head later on this evening. Drop us an email or drop us a PM. Let me know. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And again, no question is a silly question at all. And the chances are, if you want to know the answer, someone else will be wanting to know the answer as well. So you're doing it for the community as well. So yeah, we'll give it a couple of minutes in case anybody else has got any questions at all, or just wants to say, I'm booking on right now. feel free to put that in the comments as well. We don't mind.
Every time that something like that happens, I'm like, oh, somebody else is joining the photography. I get really excited about it. And it's, again, I think because my son's booked onto the cohort, he's outside waiting because he was like, you said you're only going to be an hour. So he's stood out the cabin at the moment. But he's feeling very much a part of this community now. And although we are far away, we might be in different areas in the UK, we're doing this together. And that's not even the UK, even overseas. It's a little journey that we're going on together, and we are very excited. Oh, and you're booking for Freya. Awesome. Oh, Michael's going to be pleased. And that'll be nice. So Michael and Freya actually go to the same farm school. So I'm sure they could sort of help each other out. And that's another thing. If you're
getting pigs and sheep from different angles.
if you're working with other home ed families, or you meet up with other home ed families and you've got buddies, what a great way as well to encourage learning. If you've got two people, they don't even have to be the same age, because we don't have any minimum or maximum ages, but where they can sort of bounce ideas off of each other and work together in some way. So yes.
Well, and if it is helpful to your learner at all, obviously they will be seeing our faces. So I will be your course assessor for photography. So if it's helpful for your learner to be like, that's the name, the face to the name, and things like that, it's going to be me. And also Pip is going to be available as well. So yeah, you know the kind of energy that you're going to be getting from a course assessor as well, as opposed to some other courses that people enrol in. It's a bit faceless as to who's going to be marking it, and there's not that ability to connect and things like that. So you are most definitely not going to have that with us. You will see my face a lot. So yeah, you'll know who you can reach out to, and yeah, I think that's a nice touch. I think when it comes to courses and things like that, the people that are behind it, that we're home educators, that we're going to understand the problems that crop up and things like that. And in terms of the dynamic between us, Pip has obviously been in the school system herself. She's had a learner be in the school system. And then for myself, my learner has never been in the school system. So home educated from day dot. So we have that understanding from all those different sides of what it's like as a home educator. And again, we're putting this out for the community because that is our community, and we want to be there for as many learners as possible, because that's what we want for our learners.
Exactly that. Oh, well, I think we've covered everything. I haven't seen any more questions that are coming in, so I'm hoping we have been going on a little bit now, Jo, haven't we?
Apologies, but it is brand new.
Very excited about it, but hopefully that means that we did cover any potential questions. But again, like Jo said, if you've watched this back on replay and that you've got a query, if you don't want to put it in the dialogue box and you want to ask personally, just DM Jo. She'll pick up messages. If it's a lengthy one that you'd rather type on a laptop or whatever, you can email me at technologytriumphs@outlook.com. But certainly join that closed group. I'll add the link to this description on this live as well, so you can find it easily, and come join, be part of the community. We're very excited about it. Can you tell? So thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a glorious weekend. It's looking beautiful down here, down south. What's it like up where you are at the moment, Jo?
Slightly warmer than usual.
Yeah, Jo's a bit further north than me, but we're definitely getting the barbecue out this weekend. Yeah. I hope you have an awesome one. If you've got any questions in the meantime, if you want to go ahead and book, the bookings are open now. And we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Take care.
Bye-bye.